So after after I left Tennessee, because there was nothing really there for me either, um, I visited DC. I went through New York, all up and down New England for a while. Then I eventually went down south, all the way down through Kentucky, Tennessee area, uh, Oklahoma, all that Southern Territory, Texas. Passed through pretty much all the states at some point. Um, and I ended up back in Utah, um, because I do have a few things here still. But one of the first things I did when I got back to Utah was I checked myself into a facility, behavioral health mental facility. Um, and I spent a couple days there. Um, while I was there, to help me stabilize, they gave me Invega, which I've actually been pretty happy with. They even do injections where you could get an injection and it lasts for a month, in between dosages. So, so I am currently on Invega, and like I said, it's been helpful, but there's still a lot of stuff to dig through. I'm trying to get a counselor, like a proper counselor, trauma counselor, and eventually that'll be something to work out later. Um, but I checked myself in, met some people out here, uh, some supportive people, and um, yeah, while shortly after I went to a hospital, I used another temp agency and got a job at a place called Lifetime, where it's like assembly line work, so more 12-hour shifts, um, constant, nonstop assembly line work. Uh, One of the problems there was they would give us these 15-minute breaks, but to walk to the break room, it takes like 3-4 minutes there, and then you have a few minutes to yourself, and then you have to walk back. They really emphasized on being back before the 15 minutes is up, so that was kind of garbage. um, while I was working at Lifetime, I did call 211, and they recommended I go to a homeless shelter, and that is a harrowing experience. I mean, from being through that, I mean, that's a place I wouldn't wish on my enemies. And there's people, living there with families and stuff, and it's not a place for, like, I hate to say it like this, it's not a place for civilized people, and it's not a place really that I feel helps people get help. If that makes sense. Like, it's a I couldn't tell you how to make it better, but it was a situation that didn't help my situation at all. In fact, I chose to stop going there, and living in my car was a better scenario than living at the homeless shelter. Um, and while I was working at Lifetime, there was a guy that I got to know, an older gentleman. He had really bad knees, and it was to the point where it was bone on bone, and he was working this job, and I mean, he could get through like 3-4 hours of the day before his knees really started bothering him. And and they would just, say, keep working, can you keep working, come on, keep going, the day's almost over. And I had to watch this for, I don't know, I think I worked there about a month or so. um, but from what I heard, what he told me was he got fired for some racist comments. Apparently there was racism going on amongst people, and they let him go. And the I don't know the whole story, but the shameful thing about that was this guy is the kind of guy who keeps his head down and does his work. So I don't know the drama there, but yeah, I mean, just the whole situation of how they handled me, how they handled him. I guess it's capitalism at its finest. Um, One day I woke up and I was late to my shift. I mean, I think my shift was at like 5 or 6 a.m. I don't really recall right now, but I woke up and it was like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock or something. So I had overslept, and I didn't want to go back. I was like, screw this. I'm not gonna beg for a job that I despise. And that's when I decided I was gonna leave Utah again. So I went back to Washington State, a place I grew up, and I went through the LDS church, and they helped me kind of find a place to live temporarily. Um, I had a buddy out there who helped me get a job, and I was working for Allied Universal Security, and I was still struggling mentally. I didn't have the medication I needed because once I left Utah, I didn't have like I came out to Washington and I tried to fill my medication, and they're like, "Oh, you can't fill out of state prescriptions here." Blah 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 blah. So there I am again without medication. Um, Still living out of my car at the time, though. Uh, I had to find that place to live because I went and got an oil change, and then 4 days later, uh, like a piston blew or a rod or something. They didn't really fill me in on all the details, but I don't know. I felt I was asking myself, is this a coincidence? Because I mean, is an older car, but I mean there was only like 179,000 miles on it, and the engine blew, and it's a Toyota make, so those engines usually last forever. So I don't know. We'll leave that one somewhere else at the moment. Um, when I started working at Allied Universal, I did tell them that I did have a disability, um, and and they seemed cool with it. Everything was pretty cool. I mean, it was a kind of a relaxing job, but I mean, I was dealing with a lot of trauma that I was still carrying that was unresolved. I was not able to now get my medication again, and um, one day I went and talked to one of the guys in the office at the on site, and I mentioned the situation to him of how I was really struggling, and um, I was going to need help. I talked to some of my coworkers, mentioned I was thinking of checking myself into the hospital. Um, and yeah, even to my boss, I told him I was having a hard time. And yeah, they just kept calling saying, when am I going to come in? When am I going to be able to work my next shift? That's kind of how they handled that situation. And I did end up going to the hospital, but all they gave me was something to help me sleep, which was a temporary solution because, again, it's not sleeping at all. Um, so essentially, I lost that job as well. Uh, and now I'm currently back in Utah, trying to sort through all this mess and get it together, move forward. Um, there's more to the story than that, but we're going to cut that off right here. So I am going to start attaching my socials. I started padding out my socials. Um, I am looking for donations. I did mention I was going to do that in the last video. So I'll be attaching some ways to for you to potentially donate to this situation. And um, I take things very seriously. So don't think that like if you did donate that I was going to abuse the money. In fact, I would probably find ways to donate myself or volunteer my time, which I think is a much more beneficial solution. But yeah, I do not plan to abuse the things that people and God give me. Um, so yeah, I am going to do that. And I already have my next video planned out. Well, not necessarily planned out, but I know the title, and the title is going to be The Cause of This Cause. So, yeah, stay tuned. Check out the next video when it comes out. I have to start an outline and kind of figure out how I want to drive that point home. But much help would be much appreciated. Um, feel like I've kind of been soloing this a lot, and yeah, I I'm still trying to maintain my faith in humanity. So thank you for watching, and more to come.